What's good? What's good, everybody? We are live on the Uncensored Truth podcast. This is myself saying, man, CEO of Our Hip Hop News, and across the way, I got my co-host.
Yo, it's your brother O God Hip Hop News in the building. You already know what it is going in on this Thursday night live on the Uncensored Truth podcast. Let's get it, man. We in the building. Let's go.
Indeed, indeed. Oh God, man. So academics, man, damn. I seen it earlier today, and I was sending you text messages of the situation going on with academics. Obviously he's right there involved with the 6ix 9ine situation. 6ix 9ine's in jail for racketeering RICO. We all know the story, and we see the rumors. We do hip hop commentary. We do hip hop commentary on 6ix 9ine, especially recently. So we see the little comments and shit that go through the radar, especially about academics. And we also see a number of platforms kind of throwing the speculation out there. Is he a snitch? Is he a snitch? Is he a snitch? So we didn't mess with it. Because we really wait for our make sure that our research is legit and make sure that everything that we put out is valid. So we just sit back, but we always send each other info and shit. And this eventually got hot, and people got upset about it, and academics got hot about it, and he was threatening to sue people, hip hop platforms, hip hop commentators. He was going in, man. So just talk a little bit, oh God, as much as you know about the situation, because I know you're just getting caught up to speed about it, about the whole thing. Are people valid in calling DJ Akademiks a snitch, an informant? Is that valid? Does he deserve to even to be involved with the law and things like that? What do you think about that situation?
Nah, I don't think there's no paperwork on him. As far as we know, the situation where a couple media outlets, websites kind of posted information saying that he was the snitch, in Tekashi's camp. So that kind of started spreading like wildfire. It really kind of started with Star. He kind of insinuated that and entitled a video, got a lot of people watching. Then he came back again, and other people started. This is a copycat industry. When somebody does one video, it's gonna be like 50 of them within the next 2 minutes. You know what I mean? But unfortunately, people got to know that if you don't publish the right information, if you're wrong, you could be subject to slander. You know what I mean? Be sued for that, especially if it damages somebody. They get hurt, they lose money. If there's some damages. So people, man, in this clickbait world, man, it's kind of crazy. Now I seen a couple things come across my IG. I was kind of running around, so I wasn't able to really dig into it. Where people was kind of saying, a couple people who call themselves activists was kind of posting up things, and a lot of cats want to see that cat academics go down, man. For whatever reason, they don't like, him or his style. I'm not that guy though. I don't really don't have nothing, against him. I think that was kind of whack. Whoever put the information out that said he was a snitch. You got to be able to bring documentation and paperwork. It just can't be hearsay. It can't just be, somebody saying something. It got to be paperwork, that's saying he's snitching. So, I don't know, man. He said he's gonna sue a couple people and all that. We will see. You said you caught his video earlier. He was going in, right, Sam? Man?
Yeah, man, he was on Twitch and he wasn't happy. He was pissed off about the situation because, like you said, Star, he was online and he was getting thousands of views per clip on the live. And then you see major platforms, your Baller Alert, Source, and major platforms that have credibility to them putting this information out. And it was just like, wow. If we're sitting there and we're not in the commentary and we're just avid watchers and viewers and we're scrolling through IG and we see not only the Source, but Baller Alert and all these other credible sources start dropping this information, we're automatically going to go to it's true. So he sees it because he's knee deep all into the social media and everything that goes on, especially when it comes to 6ix 9ine and his name. So it affected him. He saw it. And it was pretty wild. And I just wanted to ask you, where does it come a point? Because we've been seeing this a lot. Not just even with academics throughout YouTube and things like that, where people who don't know someone directly take it so personal to where they feel as though it's their obligation to ruin someone's life. What do you think about that?
Yeah, man. Again, I see it. I've been a victim of people, just kind of going too far, with stuff on social media, and you see people. I seen all types of stuff. I don't want to mention what I seen, but I seen everything that you can pretty much name. People calling the police, FBI, people posting up people's families. all this type of nut shit that people do. But then it's like when somebody gets hurt or somebody gets sued, then everybody gonna be scrambling and crying, oh, why me, and this, that, and the third. So I think that is a line, you know, that people shouldn't cross, that they're beginning to cross, you know, too often at this point in time. So, you know, man, I think it's just sad, man. I think it's sad because a lot of people, you know, that publish this, you know, are just looking to be, you know, because the thing that happens is like 9 times out of 10, stuff be real. I don't even say that. I'll say maybe 8 times out of 10, some of the stuff you see on there is real. If not, you know, it'll be retracted, or hopefully if they're credible, you know, enough, they'll you know, clean up their story and say, okay, this was a mistake. So, you know, but once you publish that information in the public, you are now liable. So you have to check your sources and make sure everything, you know, is 100% accurate, and not just try to be first. You know what I mean? That even goes to the websites that you said made the mistake of publishing the information. They are going to be held liable.
And they should be. And whether you like Akademiks or not, whether you agree with his platform or whether you agree with how he approaches and does his thing, you still have to make sure that there's no bias involved in what you do. And we always kind of pride ourselves on that. Not kind of, we always pride ourselves on that. On making sure no matter what we think about somebody personally necessarily, we always remain objective, because that's our job. And we get a lot of views and get a lot of respect from remaining objective. And we may have our conversations about some fuck shit people do outside or in YouTube in private conversation, but we make sure that if we highlight somebody within anything of our platform, that we're as objective as possible, because you don't want to run into situations like this. We said it numerous times. If we got smoke with somebody and we say something to somebody, we have no problem backing that up if we happen to come across these individuals. But in no way, shape, or form are we trying to go out here and in attempt of views and in attempt of clout, tear somebody's name up or make something or create a whole situation out of something that really isn't there. That's not what we do. And I'm not mad at Akademiks for saying what he said. I'm not mad at Akademiks for being upset, even though you may have questions on how he goes about his thing, about his situation. Can't put that brother's life in danger to commentate hip hop. If you don't like him, don't listen to him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no doubt, man.
Indeed.
Couldn't agree more.
Indeed, indeed. Well, I believe we have our brother Kansu on the chat room right now. We wanted to bring him in and talk about, he's our financial expert out of Chicago. Wanted to bring him in a little bit to talk about Tekashi 6ix 9ine financial situation, because I know we've all heard he's obviously in jail right now. Tried to get himself bailed out. $1.7 million was in his bank account, according to his attorney and according to 6ix 9ine. That didn't work, but a lot of eyebrows were raised. I know, especially through Old God and I. We said, damn, 1.7. We see this homeboy walking around with jewels and walking around with this and walking around with that. He only has 1.7 million. Damn. So I'm going to bring on our brother Kansu to talk about that a little bit. Then I want to ask him some questions in regards to how we can avoid situations like Tekashi found himself in. So, brother Kansu, what's good with you, family?
Oh, man, everything's wonderful, man. It's peaceful. It's good to hear from you, Sam. It's good to hear from you, oh God. You know, life is good, man. Love living life, man. All is well. Did you want me to answer that question subsequently?
Yes, please.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, with 6ix 9ine, you know, he doesn't have a manager. He doesn't have an accountant. You don't put $1.7 million in a bank. That's number one. That's the problem. That's the first problem. A bank is insured by what is called the FDIC. For those who don't know, when you go to a bank or a credit union, if you look at the front door of your bank, usually it's a sticker on the front door, or it's either going to be at the teller's desk, where banks are federally insured under Title 12 of the Federal Code of the United States. Under banks and banking, they are insured that your money will be protected by the federal government. So basically, a bank is what is called an enclave. Now, an enclave is an extension of the federal government. It is the banking division of the federal government. All right. So that being the case, why would you put your money that has already been taxed? You've paid the taxes, or if not, maybe you prepaid or you're in business for yourself with somebody like Tekashi 6ix 9ine. If he's with a label, he's going to be an independent contractor, which most artists have to fill out a 1099, or he's operating as a business and he would have to fill out Schedule A, B, or C's. Why would you put $1 million in a bank? That's the worst thing you can do, because you're going to be flagged at $5,000. You got to report at $10,000. So let's say you get hit with a RICO case. The first thing they do is seize the assets. It doesn't matter if you were involved in it or not. They got to make sure that these assets are not associated with your racketeering activity. So because the case is ongoing, they're denying bail because they're continuously investigating him. They're not going to allow him to use possible illegal assets to get out on bail. That's the biggest caveat here. His money is considered dirty money right now. So a judge is not going to sign off on money that could have possibly come from the 9 Trey blood gang and any other unscrupulous activity. So they say, no, we don't want your money. And of course, his assets are frozen. He's not going to be able to move any money either. What he should have done is set up a separate housing entity under the auspicity of an LLC or an S corp without his name being attached to it. But because his name is associated and attached to it, that is why he's having the problem he's having. And he got denied bail because they want to know why you got $1.7 million. You know what? You need to sit tight, because we need to count this $1.7 million. We need to count that. So that's why they're doing it. Because more than likely the feds are going to keep that money. You'll never see that money. That's gone.
Right. Could you explain the RICO to people who don't know what that is? A lot of people have been asking a lot of questions. Could you get into a little bit of detail for that, please?
Yeah, the RICO Act is an act of racketeering, meaning that you have a fraudulent organization that are doing illegal actions under the auspicity of a legal action. So an example would be, I open up a McDonald's restaurant. A friend of mine opens up a Burger King restaurant. Another friend of mine opens up, let's say, a clothing store. And a couple of more friends open up an electronics store. However, we are all business partners and we associate with each other indirectly. However, there's also unscrupulous activity underneath the legal business. They could be engaged in drugs. It could be gang activity, but they use the front, in this case, a music label, in order to give the appearance as if they're operating legally within the constraints of the law. Then in combination of the non-reporting of taxes and things of that nature, this stuff starts to deteriorate. It doesn't help when you add social media like Instagram, talking about who you're going to shoot and all this other kind of stuff. Those are what are called legal torts. Those are torts. When you actually make a threat on social media, that is assault. So now with the federal government, they take that into consideration, and then they start building a racketeering case, because they're saying that it's more than one entity that is creating a conglomerate criminal organization. And so when you start naming certain notorious names that are already registered, when you say blood gang, that's already registered as a notorious criminal organization for the last 40 years. So when you do those kind of things, now RICO comes into the picture.
Yeah, Brother Khan. So I talked about this as well, you know, when he was going around, in particular Chicago, and he was like kind of taunting people out there, you know, and kind of going to all these. I said that he's going to put himself on a radar, because he's inadvertently starting wars between different factions. If he's representing this faction and he's going to Chicago, where it's a totally different faction, disrespecting whatever, I think it was O Block, that might start something between rival, you know, that's not even rival gangs, and start stuff between them in the streets or whatever, and retaliation, whatever, and, you know, spill over. And so, I mean, as we know, the FBI is always interested in gang task force and taking out gangs and things like that. So
Right.
So what do you think about that whole aspect, man?
Yeah, that was a lack of guidance. You know, it's unfortunate for him, you know, as far as street activity. He's a young kid. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to feel sorry for the guy. You know, he's an adult, but just because you're an adult doesn't mean you have experience. He was inexperienced in the nature of what he was promoting. When you come to Chicago, which is number 2 in the whole United States for what's considered, let's keep this clear, what's publicly stated as a gang activity. That doesn't mean it really is. But from a federal institution, they're going to put Chicago as a red flag. You're a blood gang member from New York. You go to Chicago, you make gang affiliated comments about O Block, which is one of the most dangerous blocks in the United States. You go there, you film yourself on Instagram. You talk about how you're not worried, you want the smoke. You're not worried about anything. Now, the federal government says, well, we already have what is called back in the day, the hip hop police, because a lot of these labels are racketeering fronts. That's where they get the money to market and promote these artists. And because of that, he opened up the floodgates to be investigated. Because what he didn't realize is the area in which he's talking about are real serious people that have been convicted for crimes. It's a lot of murder that goes on around O Block, unfortunately, like any other major city. And that wasn't just a wise move because he's a public figure. So the mistake he made, obviously the people around him, in my opinion, if I was building a business or if they hired me to build the structure, let's say for Treyway or whatever the label name is, then my biggest concern would be the criminal aspect. If you got this guy Shotty, obviously he's the criminal aspect. He has to be as far away from Tekashi as possible. Regardless of whatever role he's playing, you can't walk the streets with this guy. So what it looks like, oh God, when him going to Chicago, he was more so a front man. He was the bag man. He was the young kid that could generate some revenue for a bigger system. Now, but he's got himself caught up in a bad situation because he looks like a mastermind. Because he was traveling to LA doing the same thing. He went to New York and did some of the same stuff. You know, Chief Keef gets shot at. It just didn't. Chief Keef is from O Block, man. They're going to look at it that way. They're not going to look at it like an isolated incident. They're going to tie all that stuff in together.
Facts.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh God, real quick. I want to transition a little bit onto the financial aspect of this, because let's just take Tekashi's whole legal aspect and legal situation out of the equation real quick. We all know that he had $1.7 million in the bank, and you said that was a mistake. But I know my initial reaction of hearing 1.7, I was like, how the hell does this kid only have 1.7 million? You see the change, you see this, you see the whips, buying this, buying that. How in the hell does this kid only have $1.7 million? So Brother Kantu, explain to the people what kind of financial hardships was he looking forward to later on in life, or what are some of the things that the young artists coming up that watch these platforms can prevent or do to not find themselves in financial straits like Tekashi looks like he's about to find himself in?
Well, let me say this on the face. You made an excellent observation. Oh God, Sam, you made an excellent. Let me tell you why. That's 1.7 he's willing to report. There is a reason he's getting denied bail. It's not because he's dangerous. 6ix 9ine is far from dangerous. He's far from notorious. He's not plugged in with any heavy organization. They can't find his money. That's why they won't know.
On the streets.
Because he's a risk. He gets out, they don't know what he has access to. He may be young, but he's not that dumb. He fired his staff the day he knew he was going to jail. When he went on the interview, he knew he was going to jail. That wasn't like a surprise visit. The feds don't surprise you. You get warnings. You get told this is what's going on. So he allocated his funds. The problem was he thought if he left someone in his circle gave him the ill advice to leave that much in the bank. He should have left no more than a few thousand. He should have liquidated those funds and put them in the money market accounts, put them into real estate, put them into annuities, put it in life insurance, in a whole life policy. These are the things that I would advise any aspiring rapper that's starting a business. Keep your money liquidated. You don't want too much sitting in a bank anyway. You're not going to get your money back. You're not going to get the money you deserve. You're barely going to get 0.5 to 1% interest every year. And then on top of that, if it's more than 10,000, you're getting taxed. It's going to be considered income. So he needed to set up a fiduciary shroud, which would have been an LLC or an S corp, and he could have encumbered his money in business expense. All the chains and the jewelry and all that kind of stuff could have been write-offs against his entertainment company. He should, and a lot of artists are getting wise. They're starting to sign other artists, so those artists become business expenses. They give the artist a certain amount of salary to operate under the guise of a work-for-hire agreement or an employee of that label as a musical artist. So quite naturally, an artist like him who becomes an international sensation, there's people in this circle that drop the ball. Because that 1.7 million, I can almost guarantee you he's got far more than that.
Oh, yeah.
But right now, he's in a catch-22 situation, and the feds know he's got more than that. That's why they got him on RICO. $1.7 million is nothing. But they got him on RICO because he has access to way more than that. And they don't know how influential he is in this 9 Trey Blood organization because he has access to so many funds, because he knows people internationally. They're worried that his influence would be greater than the crime, henceforth the El Chapo or something like that. That's the new norm. Once one person does it, once you got somebody like El Chapo, that changes the whole RICO game automatically. No matter if whatever kind of level of money you make. Because they're like, no, this is not going to happen again. This is why the feds are at 93% success rate. Once they do lose, they automatically fix the problem. They don't wait. So Tekashi 6ix9ine, and you don't hear too many people talk about it the way you did, Sam, because they don't watch that. He got access to more than 1.7 million. I promise you that.
Yeah, his manager, it was a clip where his manager, the guy, Shotty Treyway, he played a clip where he had 20 bank accounts at one point. And this was like months ago, so yeah. And when that was real or not, I don't know. Right.
It more than likely, because when you're operating at that level, that's about as many as you're going to need. The average, when you're dealing with high volumes of money, you're going to have multiple accounts and different types of accounts. You're going to have trust accounts. You're going to have a lot of checking accounts because there's going to be a lot of escrow payments, meaning people in his position are going to pay their cell phone bill for the first 2 years. They're going to pay their rent for a year or two. So they're going to have escrow accounts where stuff is automatically paid out. So they have a proper ledger for their accountant at the end of the fiscal year. So sometime it'll take 6, 7, 8, 10, 20 bank accounts to do that, depending upon what type of financial endeavors you're in. So that's absolutely indicative of that. And if Shotty Treyway actually mentioned that, which I didn't know, if he actually was ignorant enough to say that, that puts that even buried Tekashi even more so. So that's where the ongoing investigation is going. I wouldn't be surprised if more money surfaces. That's how the FBI works.
Do you think that the whole narrative is going to work with him pretty much saying that he was pretty much being forced or coerced into doing this? Like they were like bullying him? But that seemed like the narrative they're trying to paint right now. He was never a gangster, but they was like kind of just extorting him out of money, making sure he went out and did this. But say, look, you don't say nothing. Because they have a wiretap, supposedly of them getting ready to murder him because he denounced that gangs. What do you think about that whole aspect?
Unfortunately for Tekashi, birds of a feather flock together. That's not a strong enough argument that you're not a gangster. That's not a strong enough argument when the people that you are with are certified gangsters. That's not, if you're hanging with Shotty Treyway, bro. That's your manager. So it's going to be hard, unfortunately, for the young guy. You know, I don't like to see anyone in jail. That's like a horrible thing, and especially someone his age. It's going to be pretty difficult for him to get his way out of that. You know, at bare minimum, he's going to be in there maybe 5 years. You know, and he'll consider himself lucky, because of the simple fact that money, guns, and drugs don't mix. He would have been fine if he would have just stayed a rapper. Make your innuendos, talk, you know, you just stay a studio gangster. But the minute he goes to airports, that is international space, an airport. You can't fight somebody in the airport lobby. You can't do that. You didn't get away with it. It was counted against you. And then it's gang related because you fought 2 gang members. That stuff piles up over a period of time, man. And they were sitting back watching. I want to say, is this guy being coerced, or is he initiating it? But then the day after you do it, yeah, I'm not ashamed. I'm glad I did it. All of them can suck I don't care. I'm 6ix9ine. This is what I do. I'm untouchable. You can't touch me. When you say stuff like that, bro, unfortunately, it's a character flaw.
Brother Kantu, you saying that, I want to ask you something. Do you think that in this situation, 6ix9ine was set up to begin with? Because we all know that he wasn't really about that life. He was brought into a situation to put on as a stance to make money. And you say that, I mean, you bring up the fact that he got into a fight at the airport and little things happen. He's very reactionary. Maybe he's not aware of these dangers, but somebody in his circle is. And then we see the text messages. We see the things that the wiretap provided. And we see a kid that from the outside looking in, based off of his Instagram, social media, and then the occurrences that happen, he does look like a kingpin, even though common sense will tell you he's no kingpin. This is what it looks like, though. So
right.
Was it set up the whole time? In your observation,
in my opinion, because I would play a major role in that, because I would be dealing with the financial infrastructure. Definitely, most definitely, he was. Because I mean, you know, he created quietly. 6ix9ine created a strong capital base of finance. I mean, he was overseas doing some phenomenal stuff that you don't do regularly. I mean, he's selling out venues where people can't even speak English. I don't think people in the music industry, some that understand that, how incredible that is. He was a certified superstar, whether we like them or not. You could go to Holland and nobody knows English, but they're speaking and screaming your song in English. That tells a label, that tells a distributor, whoa, we can sell 10,000 copies right now in this little small area. And this guy is not even speaking their language. That right there is dollar sign, that automatic. So when somebody has that kind of draw, and the fact that he was Mexican, so now he has a whole nother fan base. 6ix9ine has a whole nother fan base that nobody talks about. He's very popular in Mexico and in the Central and Southern Americas. He was just getting ready to do a complete album in that genre. So this man is multifaceted. Quite naturally, I'm going to use him. Not because of his talent, but because of the money he can protect as I invest in him, quote unquote. Because again, if I can liquidate my money in someone that's a write-off, then I'm not associated under anything that would be called racketeering. But the conduct opened up the idea of racketeering, and then over a period of time, it became his demise. But quite naturally, he was an investment. He was a product. A lot of people everyone that watches viral hip hop and hip hop uncensored, you guys need to know this. You are a product to a music label. You're an investment, just like a stock or a bond. Then when they give you a music advance, that's not your money. That's an advancement that you have to pay back with interest. So if you don't have the ability to market and distribute a hit song that will garnish payment, nowadays 360, if you can't fill a venue, then you're going to be in debt to the label. And more than likely, you'll be put on the shelf and you have to try to find your own way to get money in order to get back off of that shelf. 6ix 9ine was already a media sensation. He was already on Instagram and that's Cardi B. That's her career. Cardi B was a sensation on Instagram and converted that into millions of dollars. That's the nature of the music business. So 6ix 9ine definitely was an investment.
So I want to ask you about this, your opinion on me and Sam Man went back and forth about this the other day on the podcast. Being as though he was in that street code and whatnot, and you know, he lived by that. He said he was told people to invite him to his private part. He pretty much embodied that lifestyle. Not should he, but how do you feel about 6ix 9ine turning, snitching, pretty much? Just come out and say it. Should he? How do you feel about that? Being from the streets and all that. Just speak on that part, please.
Yeah, I'm so blessed, man, to have made it out of my situation growing up in Chicago. I was street affiliated, and it's nothing I'm proud of, man. You try to run from that. That's not nothing to be proud of, man. It was environment we had to eat. Knowing that situation, under no circumstances should he snitch. Under no. Do your time. Even if it's life, bro. That comes with the territory. Because what happens, and that's why I tell so many young guys, because I do seminars for youngsters that are getting in the music business or starting business. If you're street affiliated, what comes with that is loyalty. It's not for the public to understand. Street loyalty is number one. No matter what. You chose it. This is the perks you wanted, you thought you was getting with it. This is why it's best you don't get involved in it. Some of us, we built like that. Some of us can do it, get in and out. We built like that. But it's too many angles in the street game. And now 6ix 9ine just found out how many different angles. This ain't 3-dimensional chess. This 4th-dimensional chess, bro. You gotta have your head on a swivel, and you gotta sleep with one eye open. 6ix 9ine, you gotta be loyal. You can't talk about nothing. Once you do that, you just put your family in danger. That's the nature of the business. He can't talk about nothing. And I know he knows it. He knows it now. You can't go on a joint and start snitching, bro. That's a violation, unfortunately. So He can't snitch at all. You better not if he's smart.
That's a great perspective. And like Ogad said, we were back and forth on it on the podcast. Ogad taking your sentiment. And I 100% agree, but I'm looking at it in a situation like these dudes are about to kill him. He's not about that life anyway. Fuck that. Tell him. Fuck that. But you saying it, right? Like, rap, like, that being said, did he get himself involved in something that he was not ready for?
Yeah.
Did he sign himself up for something without even realizing he signed himself up for something?
Yeah. And you know what, Sam? I understand that coming from a 6ix 9ine perspective. Hopefully, this is what we can hope as we, speculate. We hope that he got somebody to counsel him that's working on his behalf outside of his situation. That's kind of what it might be, because he fired everybody. So he wasn't, I do give him credit, he wasn't afraid. He said, no, all of you are out of here. I don't care who all of you are fired. So that he may have a contingency plan where he's getting his family settled and getting them protected as he go ahead and take care of his business. You know what I'm saying? So that could be the case now. I'm not ruling it out. I'm just giving a general understanding, especially for the listeners who think it's cool to be gang affiliated. It's not. It's not cool. Even if you do got a plan, just stay out of that. Stay on, get away, do something else, man. It's not worth throwing your life away. But if he is smart enough to do that, then I can understand the situation. If he know that he can talk that talk and back it up, then take care of your business, man. Save your family. Get out of that situation. But most of the time, it's real tough. We don't really know how deep the man is in. We know he don't know he don't know how deep he is. But hopefully he does have a contingency plan with what you're talking about. Hopefully he got that in place.
Word. I'm glad I'm not in that situation. I keep my shit up because I never want to be in that. But that being said, I wanted to ask you real quick before we got out of here. I know we had to get some running going on. Does he find himself in trouble with the IRS looking forward?
Definitely.
How so?
Because of that 1.7 million. If the IRS The IRS is taking that money because they going, okay, you're a rapper. You're an international rapper. You got 1.7, but you got royalties coming. Look, he did another dumb thing. He released Dumbo. Why would you release a record while you're in the joint? Now, that's income, bro. Just because you locked up, that don't stop. That's income. Where's it going? Where's the money going to be sitting? The labels already got your routing and account numbers. They got all of that in order to pay you. So they're going to keep funneling that money. Unless the attorney sets up a trust for that money to sit in, and they still going, he better hope that a trust was in place before, because if not, they're going to attach probate to it, depending upon what he's getting sentenced to. Because they froze that 1.7 million, bro. Ain't nobody dipping and moving that money at all. That's right there. Now you got your promotion company that wants to sue you for 800,000 of it. So yeah, he got tax problems. He's got some tax issues. Because anybody, man, you know right away when it comes to this music game, if people got the right team around them, even if you're not a public figure, you don't put $1 million in the bank, man. Put it in a safe. Put it in a sock. Don't put it in the bank. Don't put $1 million in the bank, bro. He's not getting that money back. He's sitting there and he blew $1 million. Like while he was on Breakfast Club, he should have been taking it out, but he couldn't because he already knew he was popped. They froze that money probably a week or two ago.
How do the lawyers, like situations like that, like we say all the money is frozen? So how do the feds take into account, like, well, I wonder how he's paying his lawyers. Do they look into that, or is that like the line they really can't cross?
No, they take it into a court. They can't cross it because he's an artist. He has royalties and stuff coming that are still due, depending upon what quarter he released the music and what quarter the labels pay out their royalties. Because ASCAP and BMI administrates those royalty payouts, they're going to be allowed to get paid their fees from those royalties. So they'll get paid their fees. The lawyers will get that 33%, which is why he made a serious tax mistake. Because whatever's left, they're going to tax it. So hopefully he's got a great accountant, great with a CPA, and a great financier that's moving that money the right way once it drops. But the attorneys will get their money up front.
Definitely, definitely. Do you see this being the end in closing for 6ix9ine? Obviously, it's going to depend on how much, jail time he gets, prison time. Do you see him, let's say if he did 5 to 7, do you see him being able to do something like Bobby Shmurda is probably going to do when he gets out and reverse this and kind of withstand this and being successful when he gets out again?
I think so. I think with him, yeah. I think he can do it. Now, what is different between him and Shmurda's work ethic was a bit better. Shmurda's got recordings. He does so many recordings before this happened that he can release work today if he could. But it's the reason why he's not. Taxes. That's why he's not releasing any music. But Bobby Shmurda could release music right now. He's got music that Meek could jump on, that this one can jump. He could do collabos right now from jail. But it would hurt him because they're going to tax him to death. That's the problem. And he doesn't have, you can't trust, when you're doing music from jail, you can't monitor what's going on. So that's why Bobby's sitting tight. But Bobby got work. Now, hopefully, 6ix9ine got some work. Hopefully, 6ix9ine was dedicated in that studio. Hopefully, 6ix9ine took it serious before this happened. And he's just not riding his hits. He continues to work in the studio. He continues to produce music. Because nobody saw before his push was Nicki Minaj. Nobody saw that coming. You would never think 6ix9ine would be doing a song with Nicki Minaj eating on an ice cream cone. But that was in the works because he put the work in, created the relationship, and then that netted the results. So hopefully he still has that mindset and he's working and he's building his brand. And I think he'll be okay when he gets out. I think he'll still have a semblance of a career. He does have a book. I know that. if you don't have nothing else, he's gonna definitely have a book he can sell. That's for sure. If I was his publicist, that's what I would be thinking.
Definitely. That's all I got, Sam. You got anything else you want to ask for the brother Go, Sam?
No, sir. Indeed, this was dope, man. I appreciate your time, brother Kansu. Great conversation. We're gonna have you on more on the Uncensored podcast. Cutting these up and dropping them on hip hop news, uncensored and viral hip hop news, I'm sure, throughout the evening. Man, this has been a great build, man. We appreciate having you, brother, for sure.
Oh man, always, man. Y'all the greatest, man. It's all family here, so one love, man.
Yes, sir.
Shout out to the family that support, like, comment, and subscribe, man. Support these guys. They're the best.
Let them know where they can find you at too, man.
Yeah, you know, you can have. I actually have a YouTube channel, Kansu Sheshmu Amun. You can also reach me at Aboriginal Consulting. I own a financier company. I do a lot of business startups and business consulting. I also own a real estate company. It's Assurance Enterprises LLC. So you can just type that in Google, man. I'm all over the place. I'm easily to be found.
Cool. All right, brothers. I'll talk to y'all later, man.
Peace, man. Peace and love.
Indeed, we out of here. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the movement. We out. Peace.